Hi. Okay, this is working. Great. Welcome to my presentation about accessible customizable select. My name is Martin Jurča, or you can call me Maťo, whichever you like. And I work as a front-end developer for the Seznam.cz, a Czech company. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Why another JavaScript select? After all, isn't it the first rule of ARIA accessibility that we should always use the native select whenever possible? True, however, the native select is very hard to style using CSS. This forces us to create our own custom implementations, and we need to re-implement the accessibility into it as well. And I'm not talking just about high enough contrast and large enough fonts. What I mean is supporting properly assistive technologies, such as the screen readers used by visually impaired. And since this is obviously a hard problem, there must be plenty of existing solutions that are out there. Well, I have looked into them. I have reviewed and tested various existing solutions provided by various companies, also various techniques that are recommended when one needs to implement their own select element. Unfortunately, there were some issues. For example, the implementation provided by Google as part of the Polymer project is not compatible with JAWS and is quirky when used with voiceover screen readers. So how can we use such a solution? We cannot. On the other hand, there's implementation by jQuery UI, which is buggy with plenty of screen readers and remains completely silent when used with voiceover. So how can we use such a solution? We cannot. To make things worse, we were actually looking for a solution that could be integrated into any project regardless of its front-end technology. But of course, accessibility was the top one priority. And what do I mean? We were looking for a solution that works regardless of the operating system the user may be using. With slight reservation, so when it comes to Linux, since its support for assistive technologies is not as great as it could be. Next, we of course must support all the commonly used browsers, including Internet Explorer 11, though it is favorable if the technologies used by the solution would be polyfillable for up to IE8. As hinted before, support for all major screen readers used around the world is a must. And of course, we cannot forget about the myriad of keyboard shortcuts that are supported by the native select element. Don't worry, we don't have to consider all of these combinations of all these technologies equally, since there are some combinations that are recommended by the providers and vendors of these assistive technologies. It doesn't mean we can ignore the rest. We just need to make sure that these work really well. On the other hand, there are some combinations that are just not compatible at all. For example, the JAWS screen reader is incompatible with the Edge browser. I'm told this is being fixed. Anyway, all of this has took us on several months of a journey in which we were testing and prototyping, and we made quite a couple of findings. For example, the accessibility support in browsers could still be improved, and support for ARIA, which is used to make our websites more accessible, and is implemented by the assistive technologies, not the browsers, is implemented inconsistently. This leads to situations where you are prototyping and testing a solution. It seems to work fine with one assistive technology, then you start testing it with another, and things completely break apart. After a moment, you begin to feel like the Alice in the Wonderland. Things just don't make any sense. This is me right here. Anyway, there are some positive sides about this. For example, once you put accessibility into the mix, the Android and iOS platform are pretty much the same. This simplifies things. Throughout all of this, I've been reminded of a quote by Steve Jobs. Yes, he's more handsome than me. Great things are never done by one person in business. They are done by a team of people. Similarly, To achieve great accessibility, we cannot rely on just a single technique. We will need to find a combination of techniques that will work well together. Well, have we found such a solution? I'm happy to tell you that indeed we have. We were able to design a solution that adapts and works very well with all the compatible combinations of these major technologies. The project itself is MIT licensed, open source, available at GitHub, where you will find more detailed project information, current documentation, and how you may integrate this into any of your projects, regardless of the technology you may be using. Thank you, and I wish you a nice stay here in Iceland.